Hello and welcome to For the Hawkra, a Seattle Seahawks podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. I'm your host, Brandon Schultz, and I am joined by my good buddy, Clinton Bonner. Clinton, happy 4th. Hope you had a good time. Hope you have all of your digits still. That's the main thing to worry about over this holiday.
Yeah, my independence soared this holiday, Brandon. It was great. I still live in a very small town where people bring the buckets and buckets of illegal fireworks down to the beach, and they fire them off about 50 yards apart, and basically have a cockfight out there and see who's got the better displays. And I sit there and I sip a beer and I say, "Thank you very much. Go America! Appreciate the fact that you're putting on a display with your hard-earned dollars. I'll take it." It was fun.
Yeah, I agree. I have enough people around me in the vicinity in my neighborhood that they take care of the festivities,
There
and
you go.
I get to sit back and watch.
That's
No
it.
danger, especially with all the rain that we had. So yeah, don't even have to worry about fire danger.
Yeah,
It was the
no
greatest.
danger. That's great. That's a great a great 4th of July. I'm sitting in some rain now, probably the rain you had 2 days ago. Probably that's typically how it works. And yeah, Brandon, we got some fun things to chat about. And of course, we want to remind folks, if you want to watch it on YouTube, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. But we really want folks to also start to subscribe for the Hawkra on the Believe Network, like you said, as some of the shows are now over there. Quite a number of them, in fact, Brandon.
Yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube and you
Uh-huh.
also want to subscribe to the audio side, all you got to do is search for the Hawkra. And if you want to help support all this craziness, you can go to getintheflock.com. We've got it's July, but we have topics, Clinton.
We do.
There's things going on. Leslie Frazier went on and did an interview with the Move the Sticks podcast. We got Russell Wilson doing Seahawks tangential things, at least on social media. There's talk about a potential new owner for Seattle, and we've got other fun stuff planned too.
Yeah, 4 news topics. We're going to blast through them all. And there's no lists out there right now, which is good. We're kind of like in pre-list season. But it is certainly a news cycle here in the US of A, right? Lots of news out there. So we'll do a little Seahawks news roundup, and we'll have a blast with it, man.
Yeah, I thought the most interesting bit of news came from the Move the Sticks podcast, and I saw that out on X at New Era 72 tweeted out this bit about Leslie Frazier talking about the cornerbacks, and they got into the discussion around who might travel, because that's one of the things that we haven't seen, right? In this time, in this Pete Carroll era, he kind of wants to have his corners locking down one side and have that be it. No traveling of the corners. But I think defensively, as we see this schematic change, Leslie Frazier talking about that maybe they could see some movement with Riq Woolen around the field, and then using Spoon as the quote unquote weapon X role, and which I think is more of a middle of the field type role that they see for Spoon, which that in and of itself is interesting. But then the fact that, because I think there have been some of those questions through the offseason, questions among Seahawks fans after watching Spoon play toward last season and really struggle, in run defense. Is this going to be something that maybe Seahawks fans can get excited about?
I hope so. The Spoon is Spoon's a great tackler. Spoon could play that de facto linebacker in the box, that the safety, if you will, that comes down, the box safety as well. He could do everything. So yes, him as weapon X makes all the sense. I think the bigger wild card still is, can Woolen get his year 1 groove back and improve still, where maybe they just are not worried so much about his open field tackling, because one thing Spoon did very, very well for 2 years straight, his coverage ratings were really good, very, very strong. So it sounds to me like McDonald and Leslie Frazier look at Woolen. I'm not sure if I said Spoon earlier. Look at Woolen, and they look to really just to exemplify the blue chippiness, if there's such a thing, Brandon. It's like, I think they think, hey, this guy has all the range and skill in the world, that he could be the guy that goes everywhere and covers both sides. Again, even with Richard Sherman, it wasn't what we did. And I love Richard. It was an absolute lockdown corner. but he stuck to that one side of the field. So super interesting. But again, I think it's also about that non-predictability that McDonald really wants to have. That's like, no, I don't care who it is. I'm not gonna lock a guy and landlock him to one side of the court, if you will, because it kind of goes against the DNA, I think, of what McDonald's trying to get done.
Yeah, I think there are benefits to having a corner who travels. One of the reasons I think we saw during that Richard Sherman Legion of Boom era is they could just put out a dude that they have no intention of throwing to on
Right.
Sherman's side and, just avoid that side of the field. I think one of the things that we saw then with Woolen is, gosh, I think to all those 49ers games where they just put Juwan Jennings over on his side. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to run to this side. And Juwan Jennings is a really good blocking receiver. So let's use that on a weakness of Woolen. And when we run to that side, then, we'll be picking up more yardage going this direction and using that then as a strategic advantage. And I think what you do then, if you have a corner who travels, then they're generally on the number one guy.
Yeah.
Who is the best run blocking number one wide receiver? Like, you could have that debate, but
I mean,
generally
Bobo,
that's not
obviously.
why Jake Bobo.
Yes, clearly.
It was a trick question. He's on our own team. He's never going to line up across from Woolen.
Iron sharpens iron, Brandon.
But that's just not the job of the number one wide receiver. So if that's a weakness for Woolen, why not put that on what is generally a weakness for another team and have him travel? So I like the logic of that when it comes down to those basics.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't think about that part of it. And it's a little bit of a, addition by subtraction there, if you will. It's like, yeah, you're totally right, though. I love it. If he's locked up on number one, then whatever it is, let's say you got a 12 personnel going, or you got your slot guy that is a good blocker like Jennings is, and I love it, man. That's because all of a sudden now maybe it's Spoon over there, or maybe it's one of the DEs dropping back. Just again, McDonald's going to play with all of that, so I love that concept. It seems to bolster that just by getting him out of the way of probably the run. so good pull out there, man. I dig
it. He's been a really good cover corner when it
comes
down to it. So
like 2 years in a row, his coverage PFF grades like 85 or something like that with coverage ability. He's really, really way up there, like one of the best in the league. So, hey, I'm all for it. I think it's super cool. And of the Leslie Frazier interview on Move the Sticks, really good, about half an hour long. Talked about what he would have done differently next time if he ever gets a head coaching chance again. What he learned from Parcells and ended up not doing what you wish he did. Then they get into the Seahawks and talk about what they're trying to get done, and talk a lot about this idea of what they might do with Riq. So I encourage everybody to go check it out. Worth a half an hour, but we wanted to extract that one biggest nugget of goodness there, because think from the best of it, that's probably the most significant thing. The most significant thing. I'm having trouble with that one. The most significant thing that he shared on the pod that day.
Got to work on your enunciation.
Yeah, man. That's okay. Hey, it's July 4th. I'm having a good time.
And hey, if you can't work out, a 30-minute piece of audio window over a July 4th weekend when there's nothing else going on with football, what are you doing?
Yeah, you do better. Clearly.
Well, the Seahawks, they sent Russell Wilson a little gift, it turned out, over this past week, as Russell Wilson tweeted out his throwback number 3 Seahawks jersey, the jersey he never got a chance to wear, that we were all so excited that he was going to be able to get to wear at one point. And how about that? The Seahawks send him a little gift.
I thought it's cool. It's one of those never burn a bridge type things. And yes, the way the divorce happened, if you will, got a little nasty, a little finger pointy. They had the lawyers in there and everything. And of course he goes off to Denver, and we we kept the house. So we kept the dog, and he went out to Denver. And with all that, I still think it's a very gracious thing for the organization. Somebody was like, hey, it'd be really cool if we send one to Russ. And someone agreed with that, right? I think it's a testament to the organization in general that it is actually a classy organization. And hey, you never know. It could be 2 years later where Russ comes back for 1 or 2 more years, and he does get to wear that jersey, and you don't burn a bridge with who is a good person who did really good things within your community. So I was a big fan of it.
Well, and I don't even think of it necessarily as one of those things where you might be trying to woo him back, and maybe it works
Yeah,
out that way, but
maybe,
I
maybe.
mean, at the very least, he's a guy that you're ultimately going to be inducting into your Ring of Honor at some point. So at least you want to build that bridge back up. So when that time for that ceremonial thing to happen, then everybody's on good terms by then.
100%. He is absolutely in the Ring of Honor. And you and Adam had a recent episode was discussing whether 12s really even want Russ in the Hall of Fame. It was good stuff out on YouTube and also on the stream as well. And then the conversation really kicked up in our Discord, right? So again, Patreon, getintheflock.com, join there, and then you'll get access to the conversations in the Discord, which are always a lot of fun. And there was lots of back and forth over, is Russ really a Hall of Famer? And I am staunchly on Russ is a Hall of Famer. So Brandon, I went and pulled just one more stat that I'd love to give to the world about, is Russell, even right now, if Russ retired today, does he make the Hall of Fame? I'm a staunch yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one stat to back that up, dude. May I provide it to you?
Let me hear it.
Okay. So here we go. Here are in the first 12 seasons of anybody's professional career, first 12 seasons, here's 3 players, their touchdown totals, okay? Passing touchdowns. Number 1, 366. Number 2, 334. Number 3, 328. First 12 seasons in the NFL. Do you have a guess of who number 1 is at 366?
Peyton Manning.
Ding. First answer on the board, Brandon. Peyton Manning, 366. Do you have a guess at who is second? 334.
In 12 seasons, is it Brady?
No.
Okay.
Not Brady. Not on the board.
Not on the board. Ooh, so that means Russ is ahead. Okay. My first instinct was Brett Favre, but he had a couple years where he wasn't there. So maybe.
Yeah, not Brett Favre. So,
Drew Brees?
So not Drew Brees. All right, that's your third strike, and we got to play family feud rules. All right. So third with 328 is Dan Marino. Okay, so we got Manning in first, Marino in third. Nuzzled right between them after 12 years of professional football is Russell freaking Wilson. So stop it with the he's not a Hall of Famer crap. Then you put his rushing yards in there, his rushing touchdowns, and a Super Bowl. The guy's a Hall of Famer. Now, he might not be first ballot. That's fine. He gets into the Hall of Fame. He's between freaking Manning and Marino in the first 12 years of their careers. So I don't want to hear it, Brandon. If that doesn't convince you stat-wise that he belongs, I don't know what will for anybody out there.
I guess the one argument is that 12 years is, if you don't think that that's enough to then support a Hall of Fame career, if he were to just retire after this season, then, or even before the season, then I think the thing that I missed out on bringing into the conversation really was that rushing total, because if you combine the passing, the yards, the passing touchdowns, the rushing yards, the rushing touchdowns, I have to imagine he's even eclipsed Steve Young's career already.
Most likely. Have to go check it out.
Yeah.
But I imagine he did. And, clear Hall of Famer, right?
But, Young had maybe one more chip. So, and he had he at least had an MVP season.
Well, and he had the one chip when he was the actual quarterback, right? So if you want to count that or not, like they beat the Chargers.
Yeah, he did have, he was on the team, but maybe that was his second one, was the 89 team back in Montana.
He never, if he was there by then, or if he was still in
he was there. He came over in 87, I think.
Okay, for the Bucks. Gotcha. With those beautiful creamsicles. So so he didn't play, which is fine. He's on the team. It's a ring's a ring. But 94 when they mollywomped the Chargers. That was Ricky Waters. Oh, Ricky Waters, what a player! Talk about dudes who maybe could be in the Hall of Fame. You really gotta relook at Ricky Waters, man. If he was him and like Reggie Bush, if they were both playing, even now, like after kind of Marshall Falk and on, man, wow, they were awesome. But Ricky Waters was such a good football player. So anyway, exciting dude. But that's the Russ news. That was fun. And I hope, I don't know, a part of me hopes, Brandon, that when Geno is done, and maybe it's 2 years from now, maybe it's 4 years from now, maybe we get one more Russ run, and that could be pretty magical. Who knows?
Yeah, so actually Young has 3 because it was the 89 team, the 90 team, and then the 95 team that he was the
90, yeah.
the quarterback of. So really only leading one of
Yeah,
those.
he
But
played
yeah,
quarterback on one of them. Okay, but still, hey, 3 rings
2
is 3
MVP
rings.
seasons for Young. So he does have that over Russ, but yeah, 33,000 yards in his career, 232 touchdown passes was all. So yeah, Russ way out and above that. That's even before including some of the looking at the rushing statistics on that. 2,000 rushing yards career for Steve Young, and
Oh, Russ is well over that. He had a couple of years of like 700.
oh yeah, yeah.
Russ has got
And
to have. I'm going to take a guess. Russ has got to have over 6,000 yards.
I don't know if it's over 6,000. But looking
Pretty
at
close.
fourth quarter comebacks for Young, 13 and 16 game-winning drives. I'm pretty sure Russ has eclipsed both those numbers too. So yeah, it just comes down to, and gosh, those Niners teams that Young was on, like they had
Yeah,
talking
right.
about, guys who rode the coattails. There's a lot of dudes helping out Steve Young on those 49ers teams.
Oh, they were monsters. They were a good organization for a long time, man.
31 fourth quarter comebacks, 39 game-winning drives, so almost double, and so only 3,400 rushing yards for Russ.
No. 5307 career.
Oh, 30
Got it right here. I'm looking at
rushing yards?
Yeah. Well, unless they're also including the
Oh,
playoffs, maybe.
I'm looking at sack yardage.
How many pirouettes per sack? Yeah, so over 5,000 rushing yards also. 5,300.
That is a crazy big number, though.
Oh, the sacks? Yeah.
You know what? I think I might have been looking at Steve Young's sack yardage too. Now that I think
funny.
about it, I just thought that made more sense that you would put rushing yardage in.
Well, you
that
think
position.
you put that before sack yardage, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think, but
why are we compiling sack yardage in that way?
I mean, I like the compiling, but sneaking that into that column, it's a little too soon, That
So where's
column.
the rushing yardage? Oh,
all right, I'll fish that out. I know we got more topics. I will get that as we head to topic 3.
Topic 3. Jeff Bezos, potential owner of the Seahawks. What was he liquidating a bunch of his stocks for Amazon here recently to the tune of, what was it, $5 billion? Some crazy number.
Yeah, it has some crazy number, right? So yes, he sold. It was very recent. He sold, or is like slated to sell, like whatever it is, Monday, or did it on Thursday or Friday. Just under $5 billion worth of Amazon stock. He still owns a ton more, but this is also his second major selling within basically 4 or 5 months. He liquidated, if you will, a little over $8 billion in February. So he's cash rich right now. Believe it or not, Jeff Bezos is cash rich, but about $13 billion of Amazon sold within the last 6 months or so. So the speculation is very, very ripe that he's gearing up. Now he owns the space company, right? Blue Origin. So he's got to keeping up with the Muskses, and he's trying to do that. So maybe he has to go fund more of that from his personal wealth, which he has it. So God bless. But the big speculation is that this is in time with with Allen and Jody Allen, and potentially, quote unquote, having to sell at some point. And yeah, it's very interesting. I am not anti-Bezos. I'm not anti-Amazon. I know there's different takes on their largeness in general. However, I think he's run a great company, and he built an absolute behemoth. He knows how to run things. With all that, I mean, how about you, Brandon? If Bezos was the new owner, positive, negative? What do you think?
I'm negative in the sense that what I would prefer to see as a Seahawks fan is an ownership group made up of like Seahawks legends. Like there have been enough guys who have done pretty well as players and then gone on and maybe done well enough in the media that they could put something together that could and probably they would need a investor as well.
Yes.
But I want it to be enough of a group that really locks it in. Like there's Seahawks fans who were disturbed enough then about the potential that they would go down to LA. And then we got to see the Sonics leave Seattle. So I think in the spirit of Paul Allen that it would make sense to really have like a hardcore group that would keep it. And part of me just wants owner Marshawn Lynch to be on that part of that group.
Of course, of course. He does. He is a part owner of the Kraken, right?
Yeah.
So he's a part owner there already. Now, the thing, they would absolutely need investors still. And these are very wealthy individuals.
Yeah.
These are people who did great as athletes.
Former players probably aren't coming up with $5 billion.
No, that's the thing. It's just that it's that jump, right? It's that layer of, Bezos is currently the second wealthiest person in the world, they say. I'm sure there's some Saudi princes out there that they calculate things, whatever it is, but it's Elon Musk one and Bezos second. I would say the nice part is you would think there'd be lots of stability. It's not like you don't think you're going to get a Howard Schultz type thing where he's going to flake on the team and end up losing the
Wouldn't
Sonics.
have thought that Howard Schultz would have.
I agree. I for all the same reasons too. Why Starbucks, where it began in Seattle, the lineage. I agree. I happen to agree. I also think that where Amazon is and where Bezos is, as big as Starbucks is and was and will be for a long time, I'm sure, Amazon's actually a different level even than Starbucks. It's that much bigger where Bezos won't be like, oh, this part of my business is not doing so well. He's already out. He's just the chairman of the board. He doesn't even run the company anymore,
Yeah.
So he's at a different level of stability that even Howard Schultz wasn't at, which is saying something because he himself is a billionaire. It's just a different level still. So, and I would think they would continue to treat things very well. Like since Paul Allen took over and Holmgren and made that hire, this has been a winning and well put together franchise. And I've called it before like a platform. So when we had to make a big swap from a legendary coach into a coach who hasn't coached A down as a head coach yet with McDonald, it wasn't just seamless. It was like we got the guys we wanted and we didn't lose momentum. And that doesn't happen. You can't absorb that much change in most places. Look at the Bengals for all those years, the Browns for all those years, the Cardinals, just all those years, besides one spike with Kurt Warner, right? It's tough, but they've really absorbed a lot of changes last year and kept on going. And I think Bezos, of course, could just put the money in and be like, yeah, we're just going to do things really, really well and continue to attract talent and attract good coaches. So that's my spiel on Bezos, man. I guess I'm pro lots of money pouring towards the city of Seattle and our team. I like it.
I say make him buy a basketball team, prove that he knows how to run it without running into the ground, and then he can upgrade to a football team. Like I need to see some references before I'm ready to move on.
There you go. Well, maybe his plan, hey, he took out $13 billion. Maybe his plan is exactly that. Like bring back the Sonics. Everyone knows the NBA is bringing back a Seattle franchise at some point. There's way too much money in the Pacific Northwest, and it's a rabid fan base with extra income. Of course, they're coming back. So maybe that is the master plan there, Brandon. He's going to bring back the Supersonics and then prove the ground. Then you could bless it, and then he could buy our Seahawks to continue.
I'm just not handing over my football team to just anybody just because they have a lot of money, Clinton.
Well, I love it. Thank you. Someone's got to be the conscience of the show, and it's you there, Brandon. Good for you. I love it.
Well, I kind of want to be the conscience of this group of people who was on the on the NFL Network, one of their shows, The Insiders, talking about the top 3 wide receiving cores in the NFL, and they brought up the Miami Dolphins as having one of those top 3 units because you got the Cheetah, you got. They brought in Odell Beckham, and then they have Waddle, who's a really good receiver. So pretty good 3.
Very good.
The other 3 they brought up were Roma Dunze's new team, the Chicago Bears,
The Bears, yeah.
because they have DJ Moore, they got Keenan Allen,
Mhm.
and that's one guy who's been there, but then two new guys and a
You
brand
got
new.
you guys you guys keep saying that about, like, 2 new guys, like, DJ Moore is not a new guy,
No,
if
but
that
he's new to the team. Well, DJ Moore's he's been there, but
yeah.
Keenan Allen
Oh,
is
oh,
new to
oh,
that team.
I thought you meant new to being like a number 1 or number 2, okay,
Oh
I
no, no.
took it wrong because I've argued with Adam about this, like, ad nauseum. I'm like, DJ Moore's actually quite good. He's had trash, trash quarterbacks and been really
I
good.
mean, Justin Fields, and he teamed up for almost 1,400 yards last year. But
Yeah,
who else was Fields going to throw to?
agree,
Um,
agree. That's true.
so yeah, that one, like he's the proven number one. But you got a couple other guys who are new to the team, and now
Yeah.
they have Caleb at quarterback. I have a hard time saying that this group, like forecasting it to be the best when
It's the
there's a lot
Bears.
of
It's
it's the
we
Bears, and there's a lot of unknowns there.
they don't have a quarterback that has 4,000 yards ever, right?
Yeah.
So, and they've been around a long time. So, no, I mean, it's the Bears until that's the ultimate until you prove it franchise at this point. It's like, okay, prove it. But Keenan Allen, heck, he's great. Keenan Allen's a heck of a 2 at this point, and I like DJ Moore and Rome. Sheesh, he might end up being better than Malik Neighbors style. Like, who knows, right? He could be the number 1. So it's very promising, but it's the Bears. Prove it. Prove it. I'm not buying it until I see it.
And fortunately, we had Robert Turbin on that show to talk some
Turbo.
sense into these other guys and say, no, out of all these teams, the team with the top receiving trio is the Seattle Seahawks with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. He made the case that, they didn't start out using Jackson so well in that offense, but, toward the end of the season, they actually had him run routes downfield like a normal wide receiver would do, and they used him a little bit more effectively. So going in now to this season, yes, it's going to be a new offensive coordinator. So there is another aspect to that where I guess you could say that Miami of the three has the most stability with Tua and then the 2 top receivers returning, and then Odell just being the one new aspect to that. But I don't know. Are those the top 3, or is there one more or 2 more in the NFL that we should be considering here? Because when I think about it, there's a lot of good receiving duos.
Right.
But when you start to throw in that third guy, like you can look at the Vikings and say, oh yeah, well, shoot, they've got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Like, that's an amazing duo. Like, can you name a third receiver
Right. Which
on the Vikings?
I know we looked it up earlier because we were like, oh, and it's Powell, right? So I forget, it starts with a B Powell.
It
B
could be
dot
Brandon.
Powell.
We'll just say that. Just use a generic B name.
Yeah, it's B dot Powell. And I remember seeing him last year do a couple of things, and Jefferson, and why? Because Jefferson got hurt. He missed quite a bit of time last year. So they had him step up, and he's okay. But to your point, there's a bit of a cliff. Like, look at the Rams, right? So we got to look at our division between the Rams and the Niners when it comes to wide receiver cores. They're both really good. The Rams with Cooper and Puka. And then you're like, oh yeah, but who's the third again? And what was it? DeMarcus Robertson, right? Robertson?
Yeah.
Robinson. Yeah. DeMarcus
or Tutu
Robinson.
Atwell, maybe, or
That's true. Yeah. Tutu Atwell. So you're swapping out your 3 there, 3 to 4. But again, that's kind of the point. They're fine. They're not, those are both A-OK NFL receivers. But if you're comparing that to whether that's JSN or whether that's Lockett, being 2 or 3 respectively, I don't think it's not particularly close. And I realize it's just JSN's first year, and I get all that. He still had 93 targets, still caught a bunch of balls. He had clutch touchdowns, and he ended the season strong. And by the way, started the season with a broken freaking hand.
Right.
Which I think, people do forget about a little bit. So very much looking forward to that. And then the other one, Brendan, we talked about 49ers. Again, it kind of falls off a cliff when you get Ayuk, Debo, and then Juwan Jennings, who's, again, second time we talk about him today, but you already said a good third receiver. He killed us a few times, so it's hard to make fun of him.
But if Bears are going to take into account Roma Dunze as being part of that 3, then I think maybe you would say Pearsall with the 49ers.
All right, bro. Yeah, got Ricky Pearsall, who bootleg football, very, very, very high in them. EJ loved him in the pre-draft process. So I tend to listen to EJ. Not to say he's always right, but he's, or he would actually say, he goes, never wrong, just early, to steal one from him. But he was such a Puka, cheerleader last year, and he was spot on about that. So hopefully he does not go 2 for 2 within our division. And
No,
Pearsall
he's
is
due
not.
for a loss on that one.
He is due for a loss. And then I think there is one more though that is quite interesting. We talked about the Texans, right? So the
Yeah.
Texans, they go get Stephon Diggs. They already got Tank Dell, but he's coming off a leg injury, and they got Nico Collins, who has outperformed everybody's expectations and become a really darn good wide receiver. I don't know, Brandon. That's a pretty intriguing threesome right there, man. Did I say
It
that?
checks a lot of the boxes in terms of the stability aspect, but then there's the injury component that, Nico Collins has been injured, Tank Dell, but I really like the depth because you have John Mechie, who was a second round pick just a couple years ago, but he missed his entire first season with, I think he had an illness that was pretty severe. And then they got Robert Woods on their team too, who's another good receiver. They got Ben Skronik from the Rams. So in terms of
another guy who killed us for a week. Love that. Yeah. Really.
So it's a pretty deep wide receiving group and a young group. So
if we're talking about youth and depth, then we've got to extend and say, well, Jake Bobo is our fourth, maybe fifth, and Laviska Shenault. And, so we've got a pretty deep wide receiver.
I don't know why Turbin didn't bring up Jake Bobo as the potential number 3.
Yeah, potential 3 or 2, it's
right.
It's absolutely there. And of course, if you start weaving in, they did not, but if you start weaving in tight ends, and maybe Noah Fant can actually live up to the promise of Noah Fant this year, we shall see. Hasn't really happened yet in his career, but maybe there's reasons for that. Maybe he's been good. He's been good. But that's all good. I love where we're sitting with our wide receivers. I do have a Texans take I want to share real quick that I looked at what the Texans were doing last year. To me, this was like Jacksonville 2 years ago, where like they signed Christian Kirk, people like throwing tomatoes at them for the money they give Christian Kirk. Turns out Christian Kirk is really, really good. They signed him at the right time, and it was an underpay. Then they go and get Calvin Ridley back after all that nonsense with the gambling and a year off. And to me, it junked the whole team. Like Calvin Ridley just junked it gunked up the mechanics, and they were nowhere near as good. Kirk wasn't as effective. Ridley couldn't keep his freaking feet in bounds. Lawrence wasn't on with him for whatever reason. And when we talked about addition by subtraction earlier, this was the exact opposite. This is like subtraction via addition. You bring a big dog back, you think it's going to be this fearsome 3, and all of a sudden you're actually worse. And I fear for Texans fans that Stephon Diggs, man, I don't know. I watch a lot of Buffalo games, having friends up here, and just an interesting team to watch. When they signed him, it's, to me, Brandon, more of like a glory signing that you got the headliner guy. And now all of a sudden you got a pretty big diva, one of the biggest divas in the NFL, in a franchise that's all youthful, all vibes. And if he doesn't get the ball come week 3, and I don't know, man, you're taking touches away from Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz, and you had a really good thing going. I don't know. I think it's actually a mistake, but that halfway through the year, people are going to look back at that and say something's not right there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on Diggs' new Diggs.
Yeah, well, I'm waiting on the day to where Diggs rips off his uniform, storms off the field, Antonio Brown style, because he's not getting the football enough, and the coaching staff is against him. So yeah, that'll be the way that they ultimately get rid of Diggs.
Yeah, and it might be by week 9. That's my prediction.
Well, to bring it all back, Russell Wilson, 5,300 rushing yards,
right?
Passing. Steve Young, 40-39. And just looking at the top 10, Steve Young outside of the top 5 in terms of all-time quarterback rushing leaders. If you go up that top 5, do we get to play the Family Feud style game again of the top 5 quarterback rushing leaders?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So,
What you got?
All right. I'm going to go first and foremost. Well, he's got to have it by now. Well, if it's just on, we're trying to get the first one off the board, I guess so.
It's up to you. We can, it's Family Feud style. So you just go until you get 3 strikes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take the free square. Russell Wilson's in the top 5.
He is in the top 5.
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you where though.
Okay.
Just yet.
Not a problem. Okay. Has he done it long? Oh, Michael Vick. He's got to be up there.
Michael Vick, number 1 answer.
There you go.
Off the
ding,
board.
ding, ding. Okay. So Vic is up there. I think already, how many seasons he's played? He's got to be up there though. 6 seasons. Yeah. Lamar Jackson's got to be over 5,000 yards by now.
Number 4, Lamar Jackson.
Okay. Okay. So I got 3 out of 5 so far.
You do. Yeah. You got 2 left. No strikes.
No strikes. Okay. I am going to go take it back to Tecmo Bowl and say Randall Cunningham should be on that list.
Number 5.
Number 5. Okay. So okay.
You're looking for either the number 2 or the number 3.
Okay. Number 2. All right. I'm going to say he ran the ball a lot. Cam Newton.
There you go. Wow.
There we go.
And which spot do you put in Newton?
I
announced 1, 4, and 5.
Okay. Good. I was going to say he's 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, number 3 on the all-time quarterback rushing list. Just ahead of Lamar, though. So I don't think Russ is going to ever have the opportunity to retire on top, because I think it's going to take him a couple seasons. And in that couple seasons, I think Lamar is going to pass him.
Yeah, Lamar's going to run for 5,000 yards in the next 3 years. He gets like 1,000 yards a year. It's pretty incredible. So I was trying to do the quick math. I'm like, how many years? I'm like, he gets about 900 yards to 1,000 yards a year, which is just insane for a.
So that stat alone, not guaranteed to get any of those guys into the Hall of Fame. The only guys who are already in the Hall of Fame, Randall Cunningham, is he Hall of Fame? I don't know if he is. No. So yeah, Steve Young at 6, Fran Tarkenton at 7.
Okay, there we go. And Russ will be right after because he's got the touchdowns also. So it'll be. But either way, it's always fun to. I love what the Seahawks did there. And so we had the Russ rundown. We had the move the sticks with Leslie Frazier. We talked a bit about the top wide receivers, and we talked about Jeff Bezos potentially being Seattle Seahawks overlord within a few years.
I think we nailed it, dude.
I think we did. I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.